Hello, I'm Carole Sawo. Have you ever been in the company of somebody who's a really toxic projector? And by projection, I mean that one person projects at the other person. And it's a defense mechanism is to tell you, first of all, what's going on here. But let me tell you the dynamics, because I think you're going to find this really interesting. It's awful to have this experience, to be perfectly honest. And if you don't know what's going on, then you will just feel obliterated by somebody who's very toxic in their projections. So I've drawn a little diagram here. Here's you having a great happy day, living your best life, and you encounter this person who projects toxicity at you. So I'm an energy theorist. I look at the content of projection, so not just that it's happening, but I look at what is in that content, what is actually being pushed onto somebody else, forced onto somebody else. In very toxic minds, what people do is they inject their intolerance into somebody else and expect that person to take it from them. But there's a lot more to this dynamic, so let me show you what's going on. You're going to have to excuse the side and back of my head while I teach you this, but I think this diagram is going to explain it really good. So here's you, and you might have, like I've got, great boundaries. And if you're somebody that has good boundaries, then people who don't have good boundaries are not going to like it, so they're going to kick off around you. But also, this isn't just about boundaries. I'll make another video about that. But this is about some fundamentals that are going on underneath the behaviour. So I'm going to tell you the behaviour, and then I'm going to tell you what's really going on. So let's say you have a really great boundary, and you've worked on your self-esteem, you're not interfering with anybody, you're just getting on with your life, and you meet somebody who is immensely aggravated by you. Now, nobody's going to say, I am aggravated by you, so what they're going to start to do is attack you. And they're going to attack you at several levels, which is why I've done this little diagram. So the first verbal attack is going to come here at the intellect. So what that means is they're going to rubbish all of your thoughts. So they might tell you that your thoughts are rubbish, that they don't agree with any of your thoughts. And what's interesting is they don't say they don't agree with some of your thoughts. They'll give you a percentage rating, like a high percentage, 100% or anywhere near 100%, or that all of your thoughts are a load of rubbish. And they might use rubbish, or they might, use swear words to communicate that that what you're capable of thinking, your intelligence, that's what they're going after, first of all, is they're going to try and take you out at the mind level. It's interesting for me to watch this happen, because this is sort of easy dynamics in my world. It's so common. But for you guys out there, and you don't understand not just psychology, this is real psychoanalysis that I'm going into now. So you're going to get attacked at the mind level. All of your thoughts, all of your belief systems is the next thing they're going to go for, are absolutely rubbish. So they completely disagree with you, and everything you believe in is rubbish too. So what they're going to try and do is project toxic energy across. What's in that projection is their own criticisms. It's coming from the superego. It shows an underdeveloped childhood and some unaddressed homework that they haven't done. Usually you'll find a fracture in their relationship with their own mother, who's been excessively critical. So they just repeat this pattern onto you, and you don't know what's going on. You did nothing to provoke this intense exchange that's coming across. So first of all, there's the insult at the intellect. What they'll then do is go down slightly here. Your belief systems live here in your subconscious part of your mind, and it's the foundation for the rest of your mind. And so they haven't been able to take you out at the intellect level, so they're going to go for your belief systems, because whether they consciously know it or not, they think, if I attack that person's beliefs and what we call usurp beliefs, then the whole mind is going to cave in. And if you're unskilled at dealing with somebody that's really toxic projections, then potentially your mind could cave in. So that's why I've made you this video, because if I give you this information, you're going to understand what's really happening. So the next thing, they're going to go for your belief systems, and they're going to refute all of those and tell you how wrong you are. There are certain words that other people use that will tell you where their mentality is, and the two words that are key words for me is the word hate and the word wrong, because what they're showing you is, and what's interesting about this projection that's going on here, is that in the content, I analyse here. I'm looking not just at the projection happening, I'm looking at the content of what's in that projection. And in the content of that projection is a complete intolerance. And why somebody projects highly like this is something about you is threatening to them. And that it's threatening to their ego, in fact. And so what the ego does, it puts forward defence mechanisms, and projection is one of them. But this kind of gets worse as well. So they haven't been able to take you out of the intellect. You've remained resilient and secure in your intelligence and secure in your belief system, which they've gone for next. Next, they're going to attack your character. And so they're going to tell you that the way you conduct yourself is all wrong. You know, everything about you is completely unacceptable to them. And so they'll criticise your character. And then they will criticise your personality. And then if they're particularly consuming, then they cajole a little sidekick here, who, with the same low self-esteems that they've both got, and at this point low intellect as well, will join in with the toxicity. So now you're being kind of double-barreled. So just be aware that in the vicinity of somebody who's technically a bully, but actually it's more to it than that, it's a psychopathology, then they will try and cajole in other people to join their gang to start this invisible war of projection. So they haven't been able to criticise you at all 4 levels. They've had a good go, but you're still standing, so good for you. And the next thing they'll do, they come down here. Now, those of you that do any spiritual work and any energy work, you'll know I'm in the base chakra here. Those of you that don't, just hang in there, because what I'm saying is this is your financial centre, okay? This is your survival centre as well. And for people that are fragile in their concepts, they'll also go for what they call power. So that's down here too. So what they're doing is going beneath the belt, literally beneath the belt. So then there's going to be an accusation that you have had some kind of sexual misdemeanour, because they haven't been able to, nothing's stuck to you, that your character is resilient, so they're going to start making things up now. Or if you just had a friendship with somebody, they're now going to say, no, you had an affair with them. So they're going to then spread rumours that there's all these awful things about you. Note so far, nothing's wrong with them, apparently, in their world. The next thing they're going to do is come down here. Those of you again that do spirituality, I'm in what I have recognised as the Black Chakra, but I'll do a completely different video on that. So if you're into things like that, remember to subscribe here, and I can let you know when I've created those videos. This is the area of undermining. So this is really where they're starting to dig underneath you. They couldn't come in at the top. They haven't found a way into any of your centres. You've remained resilient. So now there's undermining going on. So I'll just say that these people aren't always dumb people. Sometimes they've spent their life in careers where they have gathered information so that they can manipulate other people and use it against them. And so down here, you know, they're trying to dig a big hole, but all you need to do is step back, because this person is going to fall into it. This kind of, when they haven't been successful, they'll up the ante. And so a few weeks ago I wrote a postcard saying, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. And so they're perceiving that something about you is far too much for them. You've got too much. And so the truth is, why they're doing all this behaviour is they have something that I call impoverishment, so poverty. So they are lacking in something. Might be skills, might be strategies, might be knowledge, information. But they don't like that maybe you've got these qualities about you. And if you have got the qualities about you, then probably you've done a lot of homework, so you deserve to have. But so what will happen next is, and why I really want to do this, is then they start to then do something called projective identification. So people don't like how, so imagine this person has got all of this antagonistic distress and intolerance and anger, and they're trying to project it all at you. Then what they're going to try and do is put their bad bits into you. So the bad bits about themselves, they're going to try and put that in you somehow. And then at the same time take your good bits as if they're theirs. And then they'll do something called splitting and walk away as if you're the problem. You've now got their bad bits because you're left thinking, God, what an awful exchange. And they have walked away with your good bits. So just let me elaborate on that a bit more. So the we have light and shade in the mind. It's again another video. We'll be doing that for you. So people who have disturbances in their psychology have sort of a fracture that can become a split, that can become hardwired if they don't do any homework about it. And so projective identification is where they'll project the bits of their own identity that they don't like into you. And if you do not have this great boundary, so for example, just to give you the heads up, people with not good boundaries have low self-esteems, they don't know how to say no. Again, more courses and videos if you want to do those in my online college, or join me in class and I'll teach you how to repair this. But they will then project their intolerance into you, their bad parts, and at the same time they'll take your good parts. So what they'll say is, you, that's what's going on here, you are the rubbish. You're the one that's got it all wrong. And because they need to see a difference first so that they can enable this dynamic. And then they'll say, if there's anything really great about you, which there will be, then they'll say, you're like me, or I'm like that, or I do that. So they then try and take the good parts of your identity, assuming them as themselves. And then they march off in the delusion of their superego self-righteousness. Now this mind has a lot of homework to do, so they have to kind of unpick where they've attacked you at all of these levels is really where all of their homework is. And it's a really unpleasant situation for them. But right down here are the green eyes of jealousy and envy. And jealousy is normally involves something somebody wants that's got a sort of a love connection to it. And ordinary envy is where they just want what you've got. And they are furious because they can't have it. And you know what? They're never going to have it. So I want you to just have a look and think about these dynamics. Don't be this person either, because if you are sort of scared and vulnerable to these toxic people, you think, oh, I'll just go along with them and then it'll be easier to be with them. Better to be with the devil, you know, rather than to be the target of it. But this never goes well for these two people. Ultimately, whether they'll walk up against a brick wall at some point or another, they'll find somebody else that has it together more than them, and then that person becomes the target for them. So you have done absolutely nothing, but they've come in with a toxic, often disturbed, I won't even go into the classification of disorders, but a disturbed mind here that is left in the I'm going to say disturbed and then split position, and so they're bipolaring out these very toxic projections. And then also what they'll try and do, if they haven't been able to do all of this, they're such skilled manipulators, they'll then try flattery. So they'll then try and say, well, no, I really like what you're wearing, and over laugh at anything you might then say. And you're thinking, well, I've now seen like 5 personalities out of this person, so who are they? And the truth is, honestly, that they have no idea who they are themselves. So I hope this video helps you understand that, you know, whichever person you are here, there's work to do. And so, but if you're the person that's always being attacked, then if they're perceiving you as a threat somehow, of course they'll never say that, but that is what's going on here. They're perceiving something about you has got more than something about them. You normally find that this person has lost love at some point in their life. So if they've either lost their parents' love, or they've lost a significant love object, we call it in psychoanalysis, in their life, but instead of repairing that, they project out their intolerances, and sometimes they're so, you know, these people swallow the manual at work so that they can use it against you and that kind of thing. Okay, I hope this video helps. This was projection, analysing the content of somebody's projections, being really aware of when this happens, because it usually comes out of the left field, and knowing how to manage these people is, in fact, you do not take on their energy. You do not take on their toxic projections. In fact, whether you consciously verbally do it in the moment or unconsciously do it, or use, you know, if you're in spirituality, you'll use different kind of protection mechanisms, but all you really need to do, and here's the ultimate skill that I'll give you, is nothing. Don't you lower yourself here. In fact, if they're going to go underneath and around and all attempts, just stay in your truth, stay in your authenticity, which, by the way, they'll also criticise, but just stay in it. Because I read this somewhere, for the moment I can't think where I got this from, but innocence is its own protection. And maybe that was not Lincoln, I think it was the one of the wives of one of the American presidents, but innocence is its own protection. And so do not feed into this dynamic. Let them go away in self-righteousness. Key words for people that have superego issues, which is an issue of morality. So a heavily critical parent is what they've had in their childhood. And the key words that I look out for is this buzzword narrative. In spiritual arenas, you'll hear people use the word quantum. And what else? Okay, I think I've said enough. We'll leave this video here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, pop onto my website, have a look at the articles, loads of free stuff, and the podcasts that I'm doing for you. Okay, see you in another video. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.